Due to recent Astartes victories, the planet of Osiris has been declared a training ground. As such, a patrol vessel of Adeptus Sororitas arrives in orbit with a team of novitiates. The Emperor's finest will be overseeing their initial activities. Welcome back to MGM and Episode 8 of the Osiris conflict. Today we have a matchup between the Adeptus Sororitas Novitiates and the Adeptus Custodes Emperor's Talons. A quick look at the campaign table shows the Custodes at 1-0, while the Novitiates prepare to make their channel debut. The Novitiates kill team will consist of a Novitiate Superior with Plasma Pistol and Power Sword. She will also have Icon of the Faith, allowing her to perform an Act of Faith for free. She is accompanied by a Novitiate Condemner, a Duelist, Purgatus, Penitent, Preceptor, and Exactor. The Condemner will have an Auto Chastiter, allowing for attack dice rerolls and mortal wounds. They also have 3 novitiates with autoguns. The Talons of the Emperor have 4 warriors. The leader has an Oath Parchment, allowing for a free command reroll once per battle. Another warrior has Misericordia, which can inflict mortal wounds. I would like to give a personal shout out to Mini Painting Papa, who painted these Custodes miniatures for me. I will put a link to his channel and Instagram in the description. Thank you so much. Today we'll be playing the mission Consecration. Operatives will be able to perform a mission-specific action called Consecrate Ground if an operative is within 2 inches of a non-consecrated objective marker it controls. Until the start of the next turning point, that objective marker is consecrated, and that operative's APL, defense, and attack characteristics of its melee weapons are increased by 1. At the end of each turning point, for each consecrated objective marker friendly operatives control, you score 1 VP to a maximum of 4 per side per turning point. For Tac Ops, the Custodes are in the Security archetype. They get damage limitation, protect assets, and hold the line. The Novitiates are in the Recon archetype and get Mark Target, Plant Signal Beacon, and Glory to the Martyrs, which is faction specific. With the board prepared, we are ready to dive into turn 1. If you like these battle reports, please consider leaving a quick like on this video and subscribing for more. In the scouting step, the Novitiates selected Fortify to place down an extra barrier, and the Custodes selected Recon, and as such, they will hand the initiative off to the Novitiates for the first turn. With no Tac Ops being played, we move into the Novitiates firefight phase, and we've got one of the Novitiates that is going to move forward, get within 2 inches of the center here, and consecrate Objective 1. The Emperor's Talons activates a warrior at the center of the board. He moves over to Objective 4 and will consecrate that as well. A Novitiate is going to activate with an engage order using a move and a dash, getting up to Objective 5 but unable to consecrate it. The Custodes will activate, and this warrior is going to smash through the window, stand on Objective number 3 with a conceal order, and consecrate that. We then have a Novitiate Superior moving up to Objective 5, and she is going to consecrate that objective. As we flip back to the Custodes, we have a move and a dash to Objective 1, and this will contest this objective, as they both have 3 action points on it, the Novitiate getting a +1 for consecrating it. This will give one of the Novitiate Militants line of sight, and using a Faith point before these dice are rolled, 4 attacks needing 4s, they will re-roll one of these for one of those Faith points, and that turns into a critical and 2 normal hits. With a defense of 3, he just needs 2s in order to make the saves, and those are all going to be saved, including the critical. That Militant will then execute a run maneuver, getting just inside of 2 inches there to add more APL here. They now take the lead. The leader of this group is going to move and dash up to Objective 1, adding further APL to it. And now this Novitiate Exactor is going to whip that Penitent into a frenzy, giving it 1 APL and adding to the move. She is then going to advance forward. That Penitent is going to activate next, as the sisters have all of the remaining activations left, and she is going to charge into this Custodes warrior. She has a lot of tricks up her sleeve, including being able to fight twice. and dice from the Custodes are coming out, 5 dice needing 2s. She swings with the Eviscerator, 4 dice needing 4s. And she nearly rolls a Yahtzee. That spear the warrior carries is lethal 5, however, so he does have a critical on the board. Despite such a great roll, the warrior spear is extremely strong, and as such, she must parry that critical to prevent being taken out by 1 hit. The warrior then strikes her for 5 damage. She then strikes him back for 6 damage before being taken out. The warrior is reduced to 12 wounds, but still stands firm on Objective 1. Continuing action for the Novitiates, the Preceptor is going to move and dash, and this is going to give the Sisters the APL advantage on this objective. Back to the Sisters' right flank, the Pregatus is going to move forward and play Burning Advance, allowing her to dash and shoot with this flame weapon. Burning Wrath is played for 1 CP, which changes the weapon profile, and she fires with 5 shots, hitting on 2s. She also positions close enough to put some APL on this objective to hopefully contest it, but 5 dice coming out needing 2s, 4 of those are going to be good, no criticals. Due to consecrating the objective, his defense goes to 4. We only roll 3 here. We re-roll that 1 off camera, and it is a 1 again, and he ends up taking 6 damage and has 12 wounds remaining. Next, the Novitiates are going to activate the Condemner. She is going to climb to the top, up this ladder here, getting onto a vantage point, and she is going to fire down at the Custodes warrior. The Condemner Stake Thrower is 4 shots, and she will hit on 3s, and it has the Auto Chastiser, allowing for rerolls of 1s, but if that reroll is a 1, it will inflict a mortal wound on her. So there's a crit and a regular out there, and we are going to reroll this 1 due to the Auto Chastiser, and that is going to turn into another critical, so 2 crits and a regular on the board. The crits inflict 4 mortal wounds, and he does retain 1 for cover. We roll out 1 die here, which is a save. He has 1 extra defense, which we rolled separately, and that misses. When the dice are sorted, 1 crit and 1 normal hit goes through. The mortal wounds take him down to 8, and then he loses 5 more, going down to 3 wounds remaining. The Novitiate Duelist is going to charge into him next, attempting to finish him off. She has Dueling Blades, which is 4 attacks on 2s, versus the Guardian Spear, 5 attacks on 2s. This is not going to matter, however, as when the dice come out, there's going to be a critical out there on the board for the Duelist. Both weapons are lethal 5, but that 1 critical will be enough to strike that warrior down. And with that, the Sisters are firmly going to control Objective 3, as that brings us to the end of the first turning point. The Talons of the Emperor do control 1 objective, but the Novitiates control 3 others. They do have more APL on this Objective 1 that we're showing here, and that brings our total to 3-1 at the end of the first turning point. And turn 2 priority rolls coming out. And it looks like the Custodes will be up first. Attack Ops are revealed, and we go over the Custodes, where the leader activates first. He is going to consecrate this objective. He is flipping up to an engage order, and he is going to charge into 2 of these Novitiates. The Custodes did use 2 strategic ploys, Aegis of the Emperor and Peerless Warriors. And he smashes into combat with 5 attacks needing 2s. Should be 6 due to the consecrate, but we did miss that. The Preceptor swings back with 4 attacks needing 3s. She is getting assist, so it does go down to 2s, but after multiple strikes, she is going to be taken out, and while she does apply some damage onto the leader, the strategic ploy Peerless Warriors allows him to fight again, and he swings at the normal initiate in front of him. Again, 5 attacks on 2s to her 3 attacks needing 4s. All of the shots miss, and he strikes her once. She does strike him back, but then he strikes her a second time, taking her out of action. Glorious Martyrdom is played by the Novitiates. That gives him a mortal wound and allows them to receive D3 faith points. rolling up that D3, that is going to result in 3. The secondary objective glory to the martyrs is also revealed for 1 CP, as 2 of these novitiates went down within 2 inches of the center of the objective. The exactor then moves into position with her neural whips, and she is going to take 5 attacks hitting on 3s. These are lethal 5 and carry stun, but when you're fighting Custodes, they are not susceptible to stun. They also do not become injured. So 5 dice coming out from these neural whips looking for 3s, and there will be a critical on the board and 4 regular hits. As he does have that Consecration aura, he goes up to a defense of 4, and he is looking for 2s. There will be a fail on the board, and he is going to use a command point reroll on this from the Oath Parchment. He gets to reroll this one for free. That does turn into a save, and he is going to assess that critical as normal damage. That is the Aegis of the Emperor strategic ploy. So only 2 damage going on to the leader as we flip back over to the Custodes, and we've got this warrior with a spear. He is going to charge into that exactor. The Guardian Spear he carries is 5 attacks hitting on 2s. It is lethal 5 going against those neural whips, which are 5 attacks on 3s. It is lethal 5 as well, and another great roll as there's multiple criticals on the board. But with this spear, he strikes her once for 5 damage, while she can strike him back for 3. He then strikes her again, taking her out of action. Now, due to Aegis of the Emperor, we should have only assessed 2 damage versus the 3 that we put on him. He still has 9 wounds remaining. He then throws out his spear at that closest initiate, 4 attacks needing 2s, and while one of those attacks will miss, that is still going to be a heap of damage that goes through. So she will retain one of these saves for cover, 2 dice rolling out needing 3s, and using a Faithful Blessing for 1 faith point to re-roll a die in case it misses. So the remaining 2 come out, 1 will fail. She will get a re-roll on this dice due to the faith point used. And again, looking for 3s, and that will be 3 saves. With that activation done, we move over to the Condemner, who moves, and she is going to fire. She is on a vantage point. That Stake Thrower, 4 attacks on 3s, and it is piercing 1, and any criticals inflict 2 mortal wounds. And that is 2 criticals, immediately takes 4 mortal wounds off of that warrior. Piercing 1 kicks off AP 1, so that takes his defense down to 3, as he is getting a +1 for being empowered from that Consecrate. He does retain 1 for cover, so 2 dice coming out, looking for 2s, and one of those is going to fail. A command point reroll is used this time for a CP, and that will turn into a save. He'll use 2 of those to block out one of these criticals, and 1 to block out a normal that is still going to be a critical and a normal that causes damage. That ended up being a massive 9 wound attack and takes him out of action. The Custodes now feeling the pain in this one. We have a warrior that is going to consecrate here, stay with his Conceal Order, and get an objective point. We then have the Novitiate Superior that moves up. The Novitiates are operating with Eyes of the Emperor, which is a strategic ploy that was played at the beginning of this turn, and that gives their pistols unlimited range, and she shoots with her plasma pistol. This is 4 attacks needing 2s, and she is going to use 3 faith points for Vengeful Strike, where she can convert one of these normal hits into a critical. The weapon is AP -1, and that will reduce his defense down to 2. He is not receiving cover. One of those is going to fail. They have no CP remaining to do any rerolls, and it is a massive amount of damage that goes through, taking him out of action. The Duelist is then going to move to that center objective and consecrate it. There's no Overwatch that can take place because the remaining warrior has a Conceal Order. We've then got the Purgatus, who is going to consecrate as well. As we wrap up the rest of the turn, more initiates moving into better positions, as well as consecrating objectives, although they will only be able to score 4 against the primary in this one. And with these final moves, it does bring turn 2 to a close, the Custodes taking a lot of damage in this one. The Novitiates score 4 on the primary and 1 secondary objective. The Custodes will score 1 on the primary and 1 for protect assets. That brings our score to 8-3 in favor of the Novitiates, with turn 3 coming up next. And with turn 3 underway, priority rolls are coming out. It will go back over to the Custodes. Peerless Warriors again being played by the Custodes as this warrior flips up to an engage order and charges into this Novitiate. The Sentinel Blade is 4 attacks on 2s, while the Duelist is going to strike back with 4 attacks on 2s, lethal 5. And dice roll out, it looks like there will be 1 miss for the Custodes. 3 go through. The Custodes will strike first for 3 damage. The Duelist is going to parry that next shot, but Expert Riposte is going to allow her to remove one of his attack dice while causing damage, but then she will be taken out by that Sentinel Blade. The warrior goes down to 14 hit points, and he throws that Sentinel Blade out at the Novitiate Superior, 4 attacks on 2s. And that results in 3 total hits with 1 critical. The critical kicks off AP 1, so it takes her down to 2 defense. And she needs at least 3s to put some blocks on these shots. She does get 1, and she is going to use a command point reroll. She gets a critical to block out that crit. That will be a total of 3 damage that will go through on her, and that is going to reduce her to 5 wounds. She is then going to react by consecrating the objective, turning with her plasma pistol and firing into the warrior. And she turns to fire. She is going to declare a Vengeful Strike for 3 faith points, allowing her to change a normal hit into a critical. She rolls out needing 2s. She gets 2 successes, and she will manipulate one of those dice into a crit. At AP1, he goes down to 2 defense, and he is looking for 2s and a critical to block out that crit. And he is going to get 2 regular saves that will be enough to take out a critical. He will just take a normal 5 damage shot. Because the Novitiate Superior consecrated an objective, this is going to kick off Lead by Example, and this Novitiate behind her will be able to take her action right now, and she is going to fire into that approaching warrior. Pretty standard, 4 shots on 3s, 2 are going to miss. And the warrior is going to get 3 saves, needing 2s. And all of those will be blocked. We then move over to Overwatch, and the warrior is going to fire that Sentinel Blade back out at that Novitiate Superior. And needing 2s to hit, he does get a critical here, and 1 normal hit. And Piercing 1 is negated by the consecration that she has, so she still gets 3 defense, and she is looking for 3s. And it looks like 2 of those are going to fail. She does get 1 block, but a critical still goes through. That'll be 4 damage, and it takes her down to 1 wound. From on high, the Condemner is going to take shots with her Stake Thrower. Again, using 3 faith points for Vengeful Strike. 4 attacks going out, needing 3s, and she will get to convert one of these into a critical. That critical kicks off 2 mortal wounds immediately and applies AP-1, so his defense now goes down to a 2, and he will be looking for 2s in order to save. These 2 saves will be applied to the 2 regular hits, and that 1 critical will go through. That inflicts 3 more damage. The warrior is getting whittled down to very low health at this point. We've got another shot coming across the board from an autogun. This is going to be 4 shots on 3s. The Novitiate is going to consecrate that objective first. And 4 shots coming out. That is going to be a total of 3 hits. No AP on the weapon, so standard saves rolling out here. There will be a fail on the board, and that is going to cause 2 damage. The Bragadas is going to consecrate Objective 3, play Burning Advance, allowing to get that dash and a fire with that flame weapon she carries, and she is going to unload on the remaining 2 wounds on this warrior. This is 5 attacks on 2s, and it does have Inferno, so applying some Inferno tokens for any crits that are out there, that would be 2. But this is going to be more than enough to take this warrior out. He would have 3 saves requiring 2s, but it is not going to be enough to negate the damage that she has put out with this weapon. So with that, the Novitiates are going to defeat the last warrior, and they are going to take a victory in this game. They will max the score on the primary, which is 12, and get a +1 for one of their secondary objectives, bringing their total score to 13. The Custodes did not score any points in turn 3. And with that, this battle report will come to a conclusion. Really hope you enjoyed this matchup. We did get a few things wrong with the consecrations, giving them extra attacks in melee and things like that, but the faith pool, the faith dice, that is extremely good for these guys. I found that with even lower damage weapons, you could do Vengeful Strike and turn one of those normal hits into a crit, which is so powerful. The Novitiates will move to 1-0 in their debut, the Custodes will fall to 1-1, and a big thank you to the 2022 Coffee Supporters Club. Your names are on the screen now, as well as on a piece of our terrain. If you'd like any more information on that, a link will be down in the description below, along with other ways to support the channel. It's by no means necessary. Quite frankly, if you watched the video this far, you've done more than enough to support my channel, so feel free to leave a like if you happen to enjoy this content, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.